Hola, hola, Cyber Profe here. This video is meant to be an introduction to what I call Yo Go verbs. You might also hear them called Go Yo verbs from other teachers. It is one of my favorite things to teach. And if you are one of my students, you should have a handout that you can follow along to go with this. If you are not one of my students, welcome. You are still welcome to follow along with the video. So Yo Go verbs, as the name kind of hints at, that there's something different about the yo form. Yo Go verbs are selfish, and what I mean by that is not only are they irregular, but they're only irregular in the yo form. So really, it's all about me, right? They're irregular in the yo form, and they're only irregular for, you know what I'm going to say? Yo. Let's look at 8 of the common Yo Go verbs. Hago, salgo, consigo, pongo, traigo, digo, sigo, y oigo. Now, if you look at those last 3 and you see these little things by it, digo and sigo, decir and seguir, they are also what's called stem changing verbs. I don't go into that in this video. We're just focused on the yo forms of these. But if you are interested, or when you get to that topic, the link to my stem changers video is in the description below. Now, oír has an asterisk by it because it's just weird. It's just a strange conjugation in all its forms. But we just want to focus on the yo form. So what about the other forms? Like I mentioned, the other forms, like the tú and the ele, usted, and the nosotros, vosotros, it follows the normal pattern. Let's look at hacer so you have an idea of what I mean. Now it is yo hago that doesn't follow the normal pattern because we know to drop the er and then add an o for the yo form, but that would give us hago, and that's just really wrong. That even sounds bad. It is not hago. It is a Yo Go verb. It is hago. Now you may wonder, how will you know? Like if you look at a verb, how do you know it's a Yo Go verb? Well, the really easy answer to that is that you don't. There is nothing that you can look at, or there's no clue, or there's no hint. You just have to memorize which verbs are Yo Go verbs. And the best way to do that is to use the language. Practice it. But now we're normal. We have hago, which is our irregular, but then we're back to our normal conjugation. So you drop the er, you add an es, drop the er, add an e, drop the er, add an emos, right? Just the normal pattern here. All right. We have some practice on our sheet. We have 6 of them. So step 1 is to translate the sentence into English, so that we know what they mean. And then take the underlined verb and change it to match the new subject. Pause the video for as long as you need. I will count to 3 and then go on. Okay, for número 1, Claudia pone los libros en su escritorio. The translation: Claudia puts the books on her desk. We have nosotros ponemos and yo pongo. Now, I didn't ask you to change the other things, but if you were changing the whole sentence, you'd have to change the her to our for this one and to my for this one. Número 2, nosotros hacemos el café a las 8. So we want to change hacemos. Translation: we make coffee at 8. Yo hago. Ana y yo hacemos. Oops, dos más. Okay, well, there's the translation for number 3. Go ahead and pause the video. I will count to 3 and then move on. Okay, so tú traes unas manzanas. You bring apples, or you bring some apples. Nosotros traemos, and yo traigo. 4. Los pasajeros hacen un viaje. The passengers take a trip. Yo hago. Tú haces. You might be asking why I'm having you practice other forms besides the yo form. It's because it's very important to realize that yo go verbs are conjugated perfectly normal, exactly like you're used to, except for the yo form. And the last two, 5 y 6, Juan supone que tiene razón, and nosotros conseguimos la idea. Pause the video. I will count to 3. Okay, did you get Juan supposes that he's right? And to change that, it would be yo supongo, las muchachas suponen. And again, there was other changes. I didn't ask you to make them. So Juan supposes that he's right would change to I suppose that I'm right, and they suppose that they are right. And 6, nosotros conseguimos la idea. We get the idea. We have yo, consigo, and tú, consigues. Now this is also a stem changer. You'll notice that it's an E here, but an I in the other forms. But again, I'm just focused right now on the go ending. Okay, La Vida de Juan. This is a very short story. It's on the back of the handout. But again, feel free to follow along if you don't have the handout. I am going to break the story down into very simple parts to help you understand it. And then we will move on to reading a more complicated version. So we have Juan sale. Adios, Juan. Oh, the underlined words are verbs that my students are currently working on. If you are not working with these verbs, you can find the translation of it below in the description. Hace muchas cosas. Los fines de semana, él va a una fiesta. Trae comida o un refresco. Coke es un refresco. A veces, Juan tiene fiestas. Siempre pide a sus padres. Oh, he's a good boy. Siempre pide a sus padres. Juan consigue muchos amigos. Oye que todos les gustan las fiestas. Pone mucha música rock. Now that's an expression. It doesn't translate to he puts on rock music. It's he plays. He plays a lot of rock music. Todo el mundo baila. Nadie quiere salir. No adios. That is the basic version. Here is version 2 with a little more details added in. We want to change this story from the él to the yo. So instead of saying Juan goes out with his friends, we want to say I go out with my friends. So step 1, and on your paper you have 3 columns. So step 1 is to underline the verb, write the yo form of that verb on your paper, and then the translation, and then what other word could you have used? So let's see this in action. Número 1, I would underline or circle sale. To change that to the yo form, it is salgo. And the translation is I leave. Now the actual translation is I go out. But for this particular story, we're just going to keep it I leave. Pause the video for as long as you need to do this. I will count to 3 and then go on. Número 2. Hace muchas actividades con ellos. Underline or circle hace. Changing that to yo is hago. Los fines de semana, él va a fiestas con sus amigos. Va, we change to voy. That is I go. Cuando él va a una fiesta, siempre trae comida o un refresco. We have va and trae. So don't just look for the pronouns. You need to actually read the sentences. So the yo form of va is voy and trae is traigo. A veces, Juan tiene fiestas e invita a sus amigos. So sometimes he has parties and invites his friends. Tengo and invito. And in case you see the E here and you're wondering why it's not a Y, it's just a rule that when you have an I here, you don't want a Y in front of it because it will sound funny. Pero siempre pide a sus padres. Change to pido. Juan es muy popular y consigue muchos amigos. Change to soy and consigo. Oye que todos les gusta venir a sus fiestas. Now again, you can't just find the pronouns. If you changed this to me gustan, it would be, I hear that everybody I like coming to parties. So you really need to read the sentence and understand what it's saying. Pone mucha música rock y todo el mundo baila. Change to pongo. Cuando él dice que la fiesta termina, nadie quiere salir. Change to digo. Okay, here it is with everything changed into the yo form. I've highlighted them in blue, so instead of Juan, of course, you would change it to yo. Instead of sus amigos, you would change it to mis amigos. Feel free to pause and look it over or let it play on.
Let it go.
Okay, there is another part where there are questions for you to answer. So the first question, ¿Tú sales con tus amigos frecuentemente? And ¿a dónde vas? I've helped out a little. There's a word box over here. The infinitive forms of the verbs you'll need. You're not just going to answer yes or no. You need to answer in a complete sentence. Yes, if you were talking to a friend, just saying yes or no is completely fine. But since we are learning Spanish and we're focusing on Yo Go verbs, I need a complete sentence so that I can understand where you are on where you're getting it. So the first one, I'm going to help you out. When you answer it, you would have the word salgo in the first sentence and voy in the second sentence. Now again, you need either a sí or a no, depending on what it's asking for. Go ahead and pause for as long as you need. All right, ¿Tú vas a fiestas con tus amigos? Pides tus padres. You'd have a voy in the first question. You'd have a pido in the second question. Now everybody's answers will be different, but you should at least have those two verbs. Next one is veo. I know that's not a Yo Go verb, but it doesn't hurt to practice other forms. ¿Tú ves a tus amigos los fines de semana? You'd use veo in that. Do you see your friends on the weekends? And the last one, tengo. Do you have parties at your house? So sí or no. You could even go on and say where you like to go. Just depends. Okay, now we are moving on to the final slide here. I like to have my students practice circumlocution a lot because beginning language learners just get stuck so easy. They come to me and they try to ask me something, but they don't know the exact words they want. And so then they just look at me and say, never mind, and walk away. What's so very important is use the words you have, even if it's not exactly the words you want. So circumlocution means when you forget the word, you forget the name of something. And so you kind of talk around it. So let's say you need to borrow scissors, but for some reason you're blanking. You don't know the name for scissors anymore. So you could ask somebody, you know, those pointy things that cut paper, right? You know, that thing that cuts paper. That's circumlocution. So what I would like you to do, I'm going to go ahead and circle the verbs for you here. Look at those and see what other vocabulary word do you know that you could replace it with. It probably won't mean exactly the same thing, but that's okay. Pause here. I'm going to count to 3 and then I will show you what I came up with. I had boy. Now, salgo con means I go out with, not really I leave with, but you could replace salgo with boy. Instead of I do a lot of things, you could say I like a lot of things. I like a lot of activities. Again, not quite the same, but it would get your point across. instead of saying I go to parties, maybe I walk to parties. Maybe you came up with something different. So here, instead of I go and I bring, I have I attend and I have. Instead of I have parties and I invite my friends, I have doy for I give and pido for I ask. I talk to my parents, right? I always talk to my parents. Now 7, I ran into some difficulty. I have yet to be able to figure out what I could replace soy with. And maybe you don't even need it. You could leave it out. You could just say, yo muy popular. I, very popular, right? And point to yourself. That would get the point across. If you come up with a good alternative, feel free to comment in the sections below. I would love to hear what you get for number 7 or for any of them if you have a different answer. Consigo would be tengo. Instead of I get friends, it'd be I have friends. I hear that everyone likes coming to his parties would be maybe I know that everyone likes coming. Puts on a lot of rock music or plays. You could have escucho, I listen. And toco would be, or toco, right? I play. I listen or I play a lot of rock music. And then when I say the party is over, you could say pienso, when I think the party's over. So circumlocution is so important. And if you're a beginning Spanish learner, feel free to use whatever word just remotely comes close. Your teacher will appreciate it. And the more practice you have, the easier Spanish will come to you. If you have any questions or comments, just put them in the comment section below and I will get back to you. Thank you for listening. Gracias y nos vemos.